Hey, welcome everybody. B&B's Football Happy Hour. We are back. We're bearded. We are beautiful as always. I'm Bobby.
What's up? It's Brian. Glad to be back for number 16. Good episode tonight with one of our former childhood football guys we used to watch growing up.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite Eagles of all time, and number 16 is great. It's my favorite number. It's my football number in college. So this is the top of the heap for me as far as our show's gone so far.
This is it. You've reached the top of the mountain. So,
so it's only downhill.
You can only go down. Yeah, that's it. All the other shows might stink. So.
Yeah, man. Thanks y'all for tuning in. And I know Brian usually hits this, but we are over 800 members right now, and that is fantastic. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think I just looked. I think we're at 809 or 810, and it's another 65 people I think joined since last Tuesday night. So we had a huge week last week with like 200 and some people. So 65 is still really good. So keep inviting everybody. I know a few of the members. I invited a bunch of other people. So yeah, keep doing that, and we'll keep approving all those people, and hopefully they'll at some point see their notifications and actually join the page. So
yeah, don't forget, I mean, everything we do, it's all about you. So like I posted on our page, if you guys got something you want to hear about, you got a question you want to answer, please feel free, shoot us a message, let us know what you want to hear, and hey, we will gladly oblige. Yep. We got an awesome show though. Last week we talked about fantasy sleepers. This week it only makes sense to talk about our fantasy bus. And I think I started last week, Brian, so let's hear what you have to say. Who's your first bust?
All right, let's go. My first guy here, and now this is not because I dislike this team, okay, which I do, but I've seen this firsthand because this is a guy that I had on my team last year. So my first guy is Amari Cooper from the Cowboys. All right, his ADP is about 36, 37. His wide receiver, 12, 13 off the board. So that's putting him as a third or fourth round pick, I guess, in some leagues. This is a guy that I picked last year. And he had some good games. But as I look into the numbers, he had a lot of really bad games as well. So, I mean, I can see this year. Now, my whole main reasoning this year is, I mean, them drafting CeeDee Lamb. So that's obviously going to take a bunch of targets away, I think, from Cooper. Now, FantasyPros.com had Lamb at 50 catches for 700 yards. I mean, that's pretty low to me. I mean, I think he might do more than that. So, you know, that's all taken away targets and looks from Cooper. And just from having him last year, you know, he had like one huge game against the Packers. He had like 225 yards, 11 catches. But other than that, I mean, he had 3 games over 100 yards and then 1 game over 200 yards. So you're looking at 4 games out of 16 where he actually put up pretty good numbers. And now most people are probably drafting Cooper as their wide receiver 1 on your team. I mean, if you're picking him in the 3rd or 4th round, he's probably one of the first receivers you've taken on your team. So, I mean, just looking at it like that, he had 7 games with fewer than 50 yards. So, I mean, there's just some games there. There's really no middle ground with Cooper. Seems like he either he'll have a real big breakout game, or then he just kind of doesn't do anything. I mean, and then my big thing was I was in the playoffs last year. I had to, you know, I'm starting him in my fantasy playoffs, which is usually weeks like 15 or 16. I mean, in those weeks, he had 5 catches for 43 yards in those 2 weeks. So he's just not doing a whole lot. All the big games, like I talked about, those 4 big games were all home games. So, you know, he's one of those guys that just doesn't really do anything on the road like his old counterpart, Dak Prescott over there. So, you know, I don't know. I could just see him having a pretty down year this year, especially with them drafting Lamb. So that's just how I'm going to put it.
I've mentioned this before. I hate agreeing with you, but I do this time as well. I, like you, drafted Amari Cooper last year in one of my leagues, and I was able to win the championship in that league. But luckily for me, it wasn't because I drafted him. I drafted Christian McCaffrey. I had Nick Chubb. And late in the draft, that's usually where I make my killing, where I make my money. I had Terry McLaurin at wide out. I had DJ Chark at wide out. So I was able to do some things, make some trades, and help myself because Amari Cooper definitely wasn't doing that. Now, he is going to, like you mentioned, he's going to win you 3, maybe 4 weeks. But at the end of the year, his stats look good. They're really not on a week-to-week basis. So it's almost like Aaron Rodgers last year. I think at the end of the season, he was a top 10, top 12 quarterback, but he really only had 3 or 4 good games. Yeah. And it's basically the exact same thing. And he'll blow up and the numbers look good but at the finish line, but he is not really helping you week to week. And I am not big on Amari Cooper, and I will be more than happy if he is not on my team this year.
Yeah, I think I'm going to let him slide this year. So, and another interesting stat I found, just looking at the Cowboys wide receiving core, he wasn't even, Michael Gallup had 8 targets a game. Amari Cooper averaged 7.4. And yards per game, Gallup was at 79. Cooper's at 74 throughout the whole year. And Michael Gallup's somebody you can get probably 3 to 4 rounds later. So, if anything,
way late.
I'd rather take him maybe this year as a flex guy or a wide receiver 2 or 3.
Right.
But definitely not going to waste my pick this year on Cooper, I don't think. So I'm going to go somewhere else.
There are definitely targets to be had in Dallas with Jason Witten gone and Randall Cobb is elsewhere. So CeeDee Lamb and their new tight end, Blake Jarwin, they both step in. CeeDee Lamb is far more athletic and a much better football specimen than Randall Cobb at Randall Cobb's advancing age. And Blake Jarwin is a much more athletic Jason Witten. So we have 2 bigger playmakers coming in, like you said, steal even more touches from Amari Cooper. So I'm with you. I'm down on Cooper. If he's my wide receiver 2, I'm okay with that. But I don't want him in the top 12. Not a chance. No way.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on him.
I'm not going to get Amari Cooper because I'm low enough on him that he will definitely be drafted before he gets to a spot where I'm comfortable taking him.
Yeah. Yep, I'm with you on that one for sure.
All right. So for me, I want to preface that when I think of a bust, it's basically the opposite of a sleeper. As we mentioned last week, a sleeper for me was someone who's going to outperform their average draft position or ADP. And a bust for me is someone who's going to fall far short of their ADP. And I say that because my bust candidates, both of them, are probably going to make a few people lose their minds. So just know that I'm not saying these guys won't do anything. They're just not going to live up to their very lofty expectations. Yeah. My first bust candidate is wide receiver superstar Mike Evans.
Okay.
He's a beast. He's been tearing up NFL DBs for like 6 seasons, but I think his stats will take a sharp decline this year. Currently, he's being drafted at the very beginning of the 3rd round in a 12-team league and as the 8th wide receiver off the board. Now, there has been a ton of talk about the Bucs this year, even on the show. But I think the main recipient of Mr. Brady being around will be Chris Godwin and not Mike Evans. Last year, old man Brady had an average depth of target of 6.6 yards. That's good for 27th in the league. Mike Evans' average depth of target last year when receiving was 15.5. That's a huge difference between those two. And he had the 6th highest yards per catch last year. Jameis Winston helped Evans a lot because he had the 5th highest average depth of target. Brady checks down at all costs, and Mr. INT himself, Jameis Winston, will just heave the ball down the field at will, which is going to help Mike Evans' style. Plus, Evans has never really been much of a pass catcher in terms of volume. He's never had he's never had a 100-catch season. And in 4 of his 6 years in the pros, he's caught less than 75 balls. Evans' game and Brady's game, they don't really sync up. Evans is going to get less looks, and the catches aren't going to be as far down the field. I'm not telling you not to draft Evans at all, but as the 8th overall receiver, not on my watch, my friend.
Yeah, I can see him. Like you said, their games. It's just tough for me because, we're talking about Brady going to a new team, so it's just hard to vision it because we haven't seen it yet. So, but yeah, the numbers are there, the stats are there. I think Evans will get his catches, but I think he'll underperform. I don't think he'll be a top 8 receiver next year. I think, to be honest, I think Chris Godwin is pretty much outplayed him last year, and I think he'll get even better this year with Brady. He'll pick up some stuff from Brady. Brady will kind of mold him into, the receiver he wants to be because he's a younger guy. I think he's a little more well-rounded maybe than Mike Evans. He can do a little more, I think, on the field. So, yeah, I can see Godwin getting a ton of more looks. And like you said, Brady, like Winston said, Winston, he would just throw the ball down the field. That's where Evans is getting all his, jump balls and all that kind of stuff and getting all the yards. Brady's not going to do that. I'm still high on Brady this year. I think he's going to have a really good year.
Correct.
I could see Evans, as a wide receiver 8. Yeah, he's probably not somebody I'm looking at either. So, if anything, I'd rather have Godwin for sure. I don't know at wide receiver 8, but.
And another thing that's going to help Godwin is his average depth of target last year was like 10 yards down the field. So that's much more in Brady's wheelhouse. Plus, Godwin runs, he runs routes from the slot. Mm-hmm. Mike Evans has never stepped foot in the slot. And I know someone posted on our page about Brady having a 107 QB rating on deep balls. I looked around. I'm not saying it's not true. I looked around. I didn't find those numbers, but I did find that Brady had a 46% accuracy on deep ball throws, 26% completion percentage on throws that were 31 yards down the field. Mm-hmm. And you could say, when he does so deep, if he does well, if that 107 QB rating is accurate, the Patriots had no deep threats, right? But the NFL defenses know that too. They're not running cover 3 all game. They're not running quarters. They're not having guys cover the deep parts of the field because they know they don't have to. So on the few, I think 10% of Brady's throws were 20 yards down the field or more. On those few throws he's making down the field, the coverages are going to be in his favor, because why have a deep coverage if you're a defense if you know they don't have an actual weapon or a threat to get it there?
Yeah, I can see Evans's numbers are definitely going to go down this year. Brady, like you said, he throws the running back a lot. So, we talked about their running backs. They're not really that great, but those guys are still going to get targets, more than they saw last year, probably with Winston.
Yep.
And we're not, I'm not high on Gronkowski either. I kind of had him on my list and I swapped him just so we're not talking about Tampa Bay the whole show. So, but I'm saying, just having Gronkowski, he's going to get looks too. So you still have Cameron Brate, OJ Howard, Gronkowski. Yep. So just it might just be too many mouths, and Evans just might be, if
Evans is going to be a great real football player because the defenses are going to have to play over the top for him. They're going to have to double cover him in some situations, but real football is one thing, fantasy football is another, and I definitely think he is going to bust as far as his ADP is concerned.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. I think we have our guest here. We got 89 on the line here, ready to come on. So let's not make him wait. We can talk about our other fantasy busts after we talk to Calvin. So
excellent.
Let's bring him on here shortly. Let's get him loaded up here.
All right, folks. Our guest tonight is plastered all over the Purdue Boilermakers record books. He was a 5th-round draft pick by the Philadelphia Eagles in 1990. He still has the Eagles' rookie record for touchdown catches in a season. He finished his rookie year 3rd in the NFL in touchdown catches behind only Andre Rison, some guy named Jerry Rice. And he has 3 seasons in the NFL where he finished in the top 10 in touchdown catches. Please welcome none other than Calvin Williams. How you doing, Calvin?
Hello, gentlemen, ladies, all out there. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
We are more than happy to have you, man. So now, Calvin, I know you're from Baltimore. You went to high school there. You played well enough to make it to Purdue and then ultimately the NFL. Baltimore is notoriously a tough place to grow up, and obviously depending where you are. So take us through your journey from growing up in Maryland to catching passes from Randall Cunningham.
Wow.
That's a big one.
My journey, I'm from, if you're from Baltimore, if you're not, it's pretty much you're from East Baltimore or West Baltimore. And it's a Baltimore thing, so you probably won't understand it. But I'm from East Baltimore. Went to Dunbar High School. Everything I did, grew up on the east side. Played basketball, was a pretty good basketball player. And then when I turned 8 years old, my mom moved us, it was just me and my mom, a single-parent family. we moved out to a place called High on the Ridge, a place that doesn't exist anymore. It was a new project. It's since been torn down in the mid-'90s. And there were no basketball courts out there. And, you know, all the guys that were living there, they played football. So I started playing football and pretty much still played basketball, but I gravitated slowly. And then at the age of 11, I wound up playing for the YMCA, six-man football. And then next year after that, played for Rosedale, played for Gardenville, then went on to Dunbar High School, and then played 10th, 11th, and 12th grade year. And 11th grade year, I started to have, you know, some success, started to get a lot of looks. And then consequently got a whole lot of offers, wound up taking a visit to where you guys are. I went to East Carolina University, took a trip to Rutgers, Kansas, Purdue, went to James Madison and Temple, and really narrowed my decision down to Temple and Philly. Really had a great rapport with the recruiting coordinator there, Coach Prescott. But ultimately, Purdue had everything I want. I always aspired, besides playing football, I aspired to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to open my own restaurant. And Purdue had a pretty good program, a restaurant, hotel, institutional management program. You know, so that coupled with being in the Big Ten, Jim Everett, a whole lot of Rod Woodson. They had just come off the Peach Bowl. And at the end of the day, I had never been anywhere, man. I grew up in East Baltimore and, you know, family, all different parts of the city. But I wanted to get away. I wanted something different. And Purdue afforded me that opportunity, great academic reputation. And that was big, you know, because no one in my family at that time had ever gone off to college, you know, had cousins that had gone off to the Army and the military and, you know, Marines, but no one had ever gone off to college, you know. So that's what I wanted to do, wanted to get away, experience something different, and landed at Purdue. Didn't have great football teams while I was at Purdue. There were a lot of quarterbacks that came through the system, you know, started out as a redshirt freshman with Jeff George, with a guy, he transferred, so that left me on, you know, that left me in no man's land, and you know, several quarterbacks in between him and Eric Hunter, guy from Virginia, that was pretty phenomenal, and you know, made the best of my career. Never was a part of a team at Purdue that won more than four games, but I was a hard worker, and you know, got the opportunity, went to the combine, put up pretty good numbers, and was fortunate enough to get drafted in the 5th round by the Philadelphia Eagles. Got into camp, and you know, Buddy Ryan was the coach at that time, and you know, he gave me an opportunity, and I took advantage of it, worked hard, was no nonsense. My motto was, you know, I'm not going home, because
nice.
That was just my attitude, and you know, that was part of my upbringing. You know, coming out of Dunbar, Coach Bob Wade, and you know, that was just my motto: not going home. And you know, was fortunate enough to make the team, wind up starting, which is very unusual, even if you're a first rounder, to start as a rookie your first, you know, game. And so started opposite Mike Quick. And, you know, Meadowlands, New York Giants, Lawrence Taylor, Phil Sims.
I got chills right now. Keep going.
Yeah, and you know, it was on TNT, night game, so everybody's watching. And, you know, so that's how I started my NFL career. You know, no pressure, right? Nice. And, you know, so that's how I started, man. And, you know, just had, you know, a work ethic. You know, it wasn't the most physically talented guy. But, you know, what I did was, you know, my motto was always control what you can control. And I could control my work ethic. I couldn't control somebody being a better athlete than me physically, but I could control how hard I worked. And, you know, nobody would outwork me.
Nice. Yeah, man, I know Brian's got one for you, but real quick. First off, those those mottos that you live by would be great for our like youth and kids growing up, and even as grownups. We all get struggles and everything that we need to work through. So those are great. And what people probably don't know is you were the third receiver drafted in that draft class, and you still were the starter come week one. That's great, man.
Man, every day, man, I think about the money that Mike stole from me, and I kid him about it. We still keep in contact to this day. He's actually the receivers coach at Illinois, and
nice.
Barnett, who eventually became a star.
Yeah.
Mike Quick went down, was even ahead of me. But even though I was the third receiver taken, I can always tell those guys, you guys didn't start. I was, so they can never take that away from me. They got the money.
Yes.
But I got the glory in the team.
There you go. Nice.
We'll
have to. Now I've actually met Fred Barnett at a.
That's my man. That's my man.
I met him at a casino before. In Delaware. So I need to
we thick as thieves,
man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my guy. That's my guy. Fred's my guy.
Yeah, he was a cool dude, man. He sat down and talked to us for a while about the Eagles and stuff. So we got a lot of followers and listeners that are Eagles fans. So, man, I mean, I know when you just joined the league, me and Bobby both told you we're huge Eagles fans. So I can just remember, I mean, that's when I really started watching football with my dad. I mean, I can remember.
What year were you guys born?
I was born in '86, so I'm 30.
Okay, so you were there. You were there.
I'm 85. I'm a year older than Brian.
Okay, so you guys were towards the end of my career. You can kind of appreciate. You're 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember, I remember sitting down on Sundays and watching games with my dad, and that's when, I can remember those times. And, you and Fred and, Randall and Herschel Walker, Reggie White, all those guys used to be, man, my favorite players. So what was it like, sharing the field with some of those guys and, practicing against some of those defensive studs that we used to have back there in the early 90s?
That's what made me, man. That defense, the type of defense that Buddy instilled, it was a pressure from day one when I stepped on the field coming out of the training camp after draft. You got Eric Allen, Isaiah Jenkins, Andre Waters, Wes Hopkins, and they're challenging from day one. Mm-hmm. And they want to see what you got. And I can honestly say, and they'll tell you, me, Fred, Mike, we didn't back down. We accepted the challenge. I would say Buddy and Rich and whoever made the decision, they did their homework and they knew they were getting competitive guys. And that was it. We got a chance, man. And that's all I asked for. Just give me a chance, and we'll show you what you got. And, we went on from there, but it was phenomenal watching those guys play in practice. Jerome Brown, Clyde Simmons, Seth Joyner, Andre Waters, just having to go up against those guys every day and just see the competitiveness each week in and week out on Sundays and how they competed, man. It was just phenomenal. And those are times that I will never forget. I cherish them. And, I talk about them to my kids often. And, sometimes they get tired of hearing it, but that was that was a special group, that defense. And, but we had some good offensive players. I just think defensively, we never really put it together. We didn't know how to really use Randall. You look at the quarterbacks today, he was that type of quarterback, that run option quarterback, but we just didn't know how to use him at that time.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you what, if your kids get tired of hearing it, you just give us a call, man. I will listen all day.
Oh, yeah, man.
All right, so, Calvin, once football is over, a lot of guys who left their hometowns, they never go back. But you did. You came back to Baltimore, and you helped give back to the community where you came from. You, like myself currently, you were a PE teacher for a few years. So what made you go back and give to the place that you came from?
I love my city. I got to be very careful how I talk because I don't feel like tearing right now, but I'm very passionate with Baltimore and giving back because it's the city that made me. I talk about Dunbar. Originally when I finished, I went back to work at the school that was actually our rival, Lake Clifton, and I was a PE teacher. and just wanted to give back to the city. The city had given so much to me, so much opportunity to me. I just wanted to give back, and kind of a natural movement. When you think about players in the past, is going back and teaching PE and coaching, and that's what I thought I wanted to do at the time. I wanted to coach, and I wanted to be in the city, involved in building and helping young men. And, so I got the opportunity at Lake Clifton High School, stayed there 2 years. And then a coach of mine who was, had gotten a job at Morgan State University, pulled me up, gave me a call. And, so consequently, moved up, stayed locally at Morgan State University, where, I got a chance to help young men and build young men. And, that's what drew me back, and that's why I wanted to be there. I'm still very involved in the city, even though we're living in West Lafayette now. Actually driving back to Baltimore on Thursday, and we still own real estate there, and we're still involved with the church there, and trying to get more involved as my kids get older, and get more involved in the city that way. But Baltimore is always going to be home wherever I am. I'll always keep a home there, and that's where all my family is, all my wife's family is. So I'm very passionate about the city of Baltimore, and it's my first love.
I hear that a lot. Like, as far as the media goes and the public goes, it always seems like Baltimore gets such a bad rap. And granted, I mean, the crime is crazy, and the murder rates are high. But the people who are from there, now I am not, but I've been lucky enough to live my life and meet a lot of people, and I know a lot of people that come from the heart of Baltimore, and honestly they all say the same thing. Even though it was tough coming up and it's a hard place to live, they are in love with it, and they will, no matter where they are, they'll never leave it. You know what I'm saying? And that time and time again, no matter how many people you meet that are from the heart of Baltimore, they preach the same thing.
It's home, man. And when you're comfortable with a place, you don't see, I guess, it's the dangers of what other people see, because the people know you. And I never wanted to lose that attachment. Whatever fame I got, my friends back in Baltimore tell you I've always been the same guy. I'm not a guy that changes my phone number. That's just who I am. I connect with people. I like being around people, and anything I can do to help young men, help young women in Baltimore, just to give them hope. And that was my thing. If Calvin Williams can do it, you can do it. You just have to have the drive, the fortitude, the perseverance, and to push through the things, the obstacles that may be in your way. Everything's not perfect. I didn't have the perfect, bringing up. By society standards. My mom and dad were divorced. I grew up in Howland Ridge, which was a project in Baltimore City. And it was just me and my mom, split family, so it wasn't easy. And, but you just persevere. You get a dream. You set it before you, what's the end? I always, was of the mindset, begin with the end in mind. I wanted to be an NFL player. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And, so I set that in my mind. I wrote it, visualize it. And, I'm a big visualization guy, so I stuck it on my, when I left my room, it was there every day, NFL, entrepreneur, ownership. And that's the way, you do things in my mind as I've watched people who I looked up to at growing up.
Nice, man. So coming to present day, like you said, you're living in West Lafayette right now, which is Purdue University, for those out there who don't know, where you are the associate athletic director, correct?
Yes, that is right.
Now, given the times that we're in, that job's probably pretty stressful, I would imagine. So
Woo!
I don't want you to breaking news here, but Purdue's in the Big Ten, and they were kind of one of the first conferences to switch to the conference-only schedule. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges that, just college football in general has in order to play the full season? And, I mean, do you think this 1 year is going to affect college football down the road for a few years to come, or kind of just, a 1-year outlier in your opinion? Or, what are some of the challenges you're seeing?
Well, the biggest challenge is trying to figure this thing out. There's a lot of things that are unknown with regard to the COVID-19. So we're trying to figure it out. And, at some point, there's a phrase, go around that you got to land the plane. At some point we have to make a decision. Yeah. And I think, you're trying to hold out as long as you can to gather as much information as you can to figure out the best way to go about it, given, the situation we're in. And, that's where we are. We're just trying to keep people safe, put protocols into place. So when we bring our student athletes back, we have them in a safe environment. But the biggest challenge, as we're finding, is that, you're reading every day, even with Major League Baseball, that once guys get outside the circle or the bubble, as we're calling it, that's where you get in trouble. And student athletes aren't any different. We can do all we can during the day to keep them safe, keep them quarantined, but they have a social life. And, I think the ones who, can sustain and stay within the, the ramifications of the protocols, they're going to be the ones who are successful. And that's the biggest challenge, getting everybody to understand the importance of protecting yourself and protecting others.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as a teacher, I'm in charge of a whole lot of people, and I've been a head coach for several different sports, and always am the one making decisions. And I've said time and again, man, I'm glad I don't have to make the decisions this time around, because this is so tough, man. So tough.
Your current job's probably harder than playing in the NFL right now, I would imagine.
Yeah, it is. You've got a lot of people that you have to, you're trying to keep people happy, and you're trying to ease the public, because, let's just face it, fall football, that's a staple in our society. And, not having basketball in the spring and, a shortened baseball season, our society, in large part, we depend on sports, because that's become, one of the staples in our society, and that's been taken away. And, it's hurting our society.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, dude, agreed. All right, Calvin. So my last question is a little fun one for you.
Okay.
I told you I've been a Eagles fan since probably 1991, but I got to tell you, I pulled this out of the attic. Now I'm hoping this brings back memories for you, right?
See, I wasn't a Genesis guy.
What?
I wasn't a Genesis guy. I had the was it the Atari or not the
Nintendo, Super Nintendo.
I was a Nintendo guy. I was Mario. That's all I played. I didn't get into the football games or the basketball. All I played was Mario. And I love that.
So for our listeners who aren't watching the video and are listening to it on Apple Podcasts or Podbean, I just showed Calvin my Sega Genesis from probably 1993. Now, one of my favorite.
Worth a lot of money.
Maybe, I don't know. I ain't getting rid of it though, man. I love this thing. It's a whole 16-bit system, so keep that in mind. But anyway, so Calvin, 1995, there was a football game. It's called NFL 95. Joe Montana was on the cover, and it was my favorite game. And you get on there, I would get on, and I would log in. I'd be Philadelphia Eagles. I got Fred Barnett on my left. I got Calvin Williams on my right. And I'm telling you, man, this is when I fell in love with Calvin Williams. I would light it up. Your post route in that game was uncoverable. Uncoverable, my man. I mean, you would get like 150-plus yards receiving a game every game. So, video games are huge nowadays. I mean, they're in the clubhouses. They're on the buses. They're on the planes. Now, for us back in the day, you weren't taking Sega on the road with you. You needed a TV to hook up, screw in the cords. And now you did mention Mario. How big were video games as far as like the players went when you were in the league? Oh, and I know you said you didn't play the football games, but you had to be you at least a time or two in a video game.
Let me tell you this. Now I'm telling you, I wasn't a big video game guy outside of Mario. I never really played football or basketball. And let me tell you this. There was only one TV in the locker room. You had to fight from morning meetings to run to that thing at like 11 to 12. And I'm going to tell you, Eric Allen, Isaiah Jones, they wouldn't let you get close to that thing, man. So it was at the defensive guys' end, and we never got an opportunity to play. I mean, they would bring their games from home. Matter of fact, they didn't even have a game. They brought a station for the locker room, and man, you couldn't pay Eric Allen to let you get on the game. He just hogged it. And those defensive guys, but they played it religiously. I mean, religiously. But I would keep my Nintendo home, and all I played was Mario. That's all I played, ever.
All right.
Nice. Now, my last question for you is a little Purdue trivia here because I kind of have a tie. I have a former teammate of mine in high school that played at Purdue. So I'm gonna give you some stats here, and I'm gonna see if you know who it is. Now he was there a little bit before you became the associate athletic director, but I'm assuming you still follow Purdue football pretty closely. So I think you might know who this guy is. All right.
Okay.
So he started 36 games as a slot receiver from 2004 to 2007. Okay.
Okay.
Calvin's sweating. He's sweating over there.
He's second in Purdue history with 292 receptions. Third with 3,548 receiving yards, and tied for fifth with 21 touchdowns. All right. His 6,219 all-purpose yards set the Purdue all-time record and fourth in Big Ten history.
Oh, man.
So, do you know who it is?
Did he play professional football?
He did not. He went to the combine. I think he played on a practice squad and never really. I think he had.
Was it the Detroit Lions practice squad?
I think he was on the Steelers practice squad. He just never really made it to the league. He was number 9. He played receiver.
And you said where is he from?
He's from New Jersey, southern part of New Jersey.
Is he living in Jersey now, or where is he living?
I think he lives in Jersey or Philadelphia right now. He's a short guy. He's like 5. He was like 5'9", 5'10", 170, 75 pounds.
It's not. Vinny played in the Super back in the no. Vinny's still around here.
Yeah, he played from 04 to 07. I think he played with Kyle Orton 1 year, and then he played with Curtis Painter. He was his quarterback for 3 years.
He's got 6,000 yards?
6,200 all-purpose yards. Purdue all-time record. Fourth in Big Ten history.
Dang, I'm not even going to cheat because I could Google, bro. On the line. I'm not even going to cheat.
So I played high school football with Dorian Bryant, number 9, Dorian Bryant.
Ooh, Dorian Bryant.
Yeah, so he was a little short slot receiver there.
Yeah, Dorian actually came back here and spoke to our kids.
Okay, yeah. I haven't it's been a few years since I spoke with him, but I mean, I remember I used to get up and watch Purdue on ESPN at 12 o'clock every Saturday just to watch them. So
Dorian Bryant, he came back about 4 or 5 years ago, and he addressed our student athletes.
Okay, yeah, I played high school football with him. I grew up with him in the southern part of New Jersey. So
okay,
that's my ties to Purdue.
Yeah, he was a beast.
Yeah, he was a quick dude.
All right, Brian, do you have another big question for him, or you want to hit our little rifle round?
Yeah, we can just go into the rapid fire here.
Let's do it.
See what Calvin's got.
Just gonna be quick, like one word answer.
Blame it to the head, not the heart.
All right, man. So I'll go first. You ready, Brian?
Yeah, go ahead. You go first.
All right, Calvin. Best running back you ever played with?
Woo! Keith Byers.
All right. Bigger rival for Purdue, Illinois or Indiana?
Indiana. Ain't not even close.
Okay.
Best coach you ever had?
Which level?
Oh, gosh. NFL.
Buddy Ryan.
Nice. Favorite NFL stadium you ever played in?
Arizona Cardinals.
Nice.
Wow. Okay. Favorite candy bar?
Snickers.
Favorite college mascot?
Boilermaker.
All right. I knew that one.
All right. Back in the day, in your NFL tenure, what was your favorite pregame song?
Darn, that's a good one.
It hit me in the gym today when I had my mix going.
It had to be rap. I would say it would depend on my mood, but I'd say 90 to 95. That's a good one. Brand Nubians, something from Brand Nubians.
Okay.
Nice. All right, here we go, man. And the debate: who's better, Carson Wentz or Dak Prescott?
Y'all trying to set me up. Come
Everybody.
on. You know what?
I mean, they're both good, but if you had
They're both good.
if you had to pick, man,
If I had to pick one,
if you're a GM and you had to draft one of them,
if I had to draft them coming out of college or draft them what I know now,
draft them what you know right now.
I have to go with Dak.
He stays on the field.
Yeah.
Dak's on the field. All right, last one for me, man. You and I both. We're from Maryland. We're diehard Philly fans, okay? Mm-hmm. Cheesesteaks or crab cakes?
Ooh.
This is my walk-off. I'm done after this one.
I'm sorry. I got to go crab cakes. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I might go
Jimmy's on 4th and South. I love it, but I got to go with Jimmy's Seafood.
I'm a Jim's guy. Yes.
Or Coco's, in Baltimore with the crab cake.
You said Coco's in Baltimore?
Coco's in Baltimore. Hartford Road. I just gave him free pub.
Yeah. Nice. All right, one more from me, man. Do you think the Eagles should go back to the all Kelly green uniforms like you had back in the day, or keep the midnight green?
You know what? I like the newer uniforms.
Yeah.
But if they could put the color into like one of the newer schemes.
Ooh, yes.
Cool. But I actually like the darker.
Okay.
The darker green helmets. I had a Mercedes that color, so I love that money green.
Yes, the Kelly green.
Love it.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
I want them to go back to the Kelly green, but yeah, like you said, I mean, if they could incorporate that in like the new uniform, that'd be pretty cool. I like.
Oh yeah.
It would be pretty awesome.
Oh, Calvin, this has been incredible, amazing. Do you have anything personally that you want to shout out? A business, anything you want to throw out there? We have listeners all over the place, man, especially Maryland, Baltimore.
Oh, no, man. I just, I love doing these type of podcasts because I always want to give back. And people always want to pick brains. I don't like coming – when I give speeches, I really don't like speaking a whole lot. I like taking questions because, when you're giving a speech, you don't know if after about 20, 25 minutes of speaking, you lose people. And then I want to know from the audience, what do you want to know from me? What can I help you with? Because, particularly when it comes to sports or, private business, building your own brand, I just want to know what questions are out there because I think that's a better way to interact with the audience rather than me just talking and gabbing. So, just bring it on, man, if there's questions out there.
Nice.
Well, Calvin, we can't thank you enough. And I know for a fact our listeners are going to love this episode of the show. I know my students are going to be all over it. This is great, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on. And hopefully maybe we'll get you back on in the future here during the year or something.
Oh, yeah, whenever, man. Just let me know. Give me a heads up. We'll put it on the schedule and just let your people out there know that, stay focused. You can do whatever you want to do and, get that education and, persevere. You're going to have obstacles. Don't be afraid of failing. We all fail.
Yep.
It's how you get up and respond to it. If you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. That's my motto. That's another thing I say. If you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough.
Amen.
Because we all fail.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Guys, thanks again. We appreciate it so much, man. Hey, have a great day. Have a great evening. God bless you.
All right, gentlemen. Good luck to you this year.
Thank you.
Go Boilermakers.
Boiler up. Hammer down. Hail Purdue.
Man, I mean, that was just another great guest. I mean, like, I don't even need to say anymore. I mean, Calvin Williams is the man. He just went up a couple notches in my book. I mean, I've always liked Calvin Williams, man, because like I said, that was kind of right when I started. I was a young kid, 7, 8, 9 years old, and that's when my dad really got me big into football. And he was that little fast receiver out there, man, and I just love that stuff. Like him and Fred Barnett playing with Randall Cunningham, and man, that just kind of takes me back to being young. And like he talked about, I mean, that defense that they had back then, it's a kind of a shame that they never really, won more than that they did. I know Randall had a few injuries, and they kind of always fell a little short. But man, that was just the Eagles that we grew up to love, and I'm sure he was probably. Man, we're gonna have to have him back on because I want to ask him about, what he thought about the Eagles winning that Super Bowl in 2018. I mean, I'm sure he has a pretty damn good story about that. And I mean, I'm sure
it's probably losing it out there in Indiana.
He was probably there, man. I don't know. Who knows? But you never know. Yeah,
when he was talking that I was having goosebumps, when he was talking about all those guys back there, Reggie White, Jerome Brown, Eric Allen. I mean, as an Eagles fan, I mean, that really gets you, thinking about those times, thinking about those days. And especially for me, and I know, it's a fun question talking about the video games and Sega Genesis. But when you're a kid, I mean, I'm outside 90% of the time, when the lights come on, when street lights come on, you got to come home. And whenever I walk through the door, have some dinner, and then I got to play my Sega Genesis. And having that guy as one of my, favorite players in one of my favorite video games I ever played, it was just, surreal having him on here. So I hope that our listeners enjoyed having him on as much as I did. And then, hearing the story, coming single parent, just a mom, living in the projects in Baltimore, playing a sport, making it out. And then not only did you make it out and make it to the top of the heap, finishing third your rookie year in touchdown receptions behind Andre Rison and Jerry Rice, coming back to your community and giving back and doing all that coaching and teaching and everything. It's a great story. So I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did, and I'm sure you did as well.
Yeah, man, that was awesome. He's probably he's got to be up there. My favorite guests we've had on so far. I mean, Terrence and CJ were great, but I grew up an Eagles fan, so I became a big Pirates fan when I went to college here, but being an Eagles fan, that was when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. So yeah, that took me back to being a young kid and sitting there watching the games with my dad, my grandfather, and just talking about kind of just teaching me the game at that point. So yeah, that was good stuff. And even that, I mean, all the all the little sayings that he had and the mottos that he had. I mean, that applies to everyone, all walks of life. I mean, that applies to
5 years old, 85 years old.
Whether you're an NFL player like he was, or you're a school teacher, you work in an office every day. It doesn't matter what you do. I mean, that stuff that he was throwing out applies to just more than, applies to everything. So, that's just the way. And I'm glad that I got the chance to talk to him and meet him, and that he's kind of teaching. I'm sure he's instilling that in those college kids, because I'm sure those turn out to be great men. And we kind of need more guys like Calvin out there spreading that good word and putting that stuff in their brain, man. Because I mean, the times we live in now are just so negative, and for him to be a positive role model in some of those guys' lives, I mean, I'm sure that's just more than they could ever
100%.
imagine. Yeah, so
100%. All right, so
unfortunately, we have to get back to our stuff here.
I was going to say, like, we're pretty deep right now. Let's go to the shallow end of the pool, but still important. Let's help some people win their fantasy leagues this year. Brian,
right,
give us your second and final bust for this year.
I'm on the clock here with my second bust. And like you said earlier, look, a bust is not – I'm not saying, we're not saying these guys are going to be like, if it's a receiver, like he's going to go out there and have like 300 yards this year. Like, we're saying they're going to underperform at at their level of, average draft position or, where they're getting picked in fantasy wise. So my second guy this year is going to have to be Desean Watson, man. And a large part of it is for Bill O'Brien, who basically traded DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson straight up. I mean, we've talked about it. It was a bad trade. I would have fired him right on the spot for doing that. He didn't even get a first-round pick. I mean, I don't know how that even went through. Roger Goodell should have, vetoed that trade and made them give more or something. But look,
did a Chris Paul trade get vetoed in the NBA?
Yeah, they should have pulled. Yeah. They should have pulled like a Chris Paul to the Lakers trade and just said that's not happening. Now, look, Desean Watson is a guy that I like. But look, he was QB4 last year, and a lot of that had to do with, he had 7 rushing touchdowns. He had 26 passing, 7 rushing, so he accounted for 33 touchdowns. He had almost 3,600 yards passing. But look, when I took a look at the numbers, over 33% of his completions, passing yards, and passing touchdowns all went to DeAndre Hopkins. And they ended up replacing him with Brandon Cooks. Now, Brandon Cooks is average. He is not on the par of DeAndre Hopkins. So he's looking at a receiving core now of of Randall Cobb, Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller, who's only played in 42 out of 64 games, so he's always hurt. And then they got Kenny Stills, who he had about 400 or 500 yards last year, I think. Not much.
They're all hurt. Cooks, Fuller.
That's what I mean.
Stills,
these guys can't stay on the field, and they're all the same player. They're all the same size and the same athletic ability. Desean Watson's a guy that I like, but I can just see him just having a bad year, man. Because David Johnson, to me, he's not going to do nothing, and he's not going to do anything, I don't think, in Houston. So you can't rely on him. And if Desean Watson, look, he can break maybe into the top 5 if he has 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns again, but that's not going to happen. I can see him maybe getting – if they can't run the ball with David Johnson, look, they're going to focus on him solely, and he's not going to be able to scramble around, man, and he's just going to have a down year, I think. He had 26 touchdowns last year. I can see him maybe having 20 to 22 touchdowns with 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns, which in fantasy isn't going to – it'll win you some games maybe, but I just see him having a down year. He's definitely not going to be QB4 this year in fantasy.
Yeah, I don't have numbers up in front of me, but I'm pretty sure Desean Watson is one of the top 5 QBs off the board.
Mm-hmm. He is for sure, yeah.
Obviously, Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, and then you're Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson.
I think he's QB 4 to 6. They even have –
I can't
depends
do
on
it,
what
man.
you have, because some of them even have Dak ahead of him. They have Dak 5 and Deshaun 6 or Deshaun 4. But he's in the top 5 or 6. But I think he falls into 10, 11, 12 range as QB this year. Which is still okay, but at the ADP, his ADP is 59, so you're looking at I'm just not taking him there. I'm just not taking him that early.
If you look at all of his receivers and you take Cooks at his best is great. Will Fuller at his best is incredible. Kenny Stills at his best is pretty good. Randall Cobb at his best, also good. But when is the last time that they have been at their best consistently? You might not get a full season. You may not get 8 games with all of those guys playing in the same game. Does that make sense? They're all going to be hurt at some different time throughout the year. So you don't know what that lineup's going to look like. Deshaun Watson's – go ahead. I'm sorry.
So then you throw in David Johnson. That guy, he's hurt a lot too. So, you're relying on all these guys that have some talent. But, like you said, I don't think there's going to be more than a handful of games when these guys all play.
How do you build a rapport with your receivers whenever Cooks has a concussion, Fuller's working with a soft tissue injury, and it's just listen, I am a huge fan of Deshaun Watson. I love Deshaun Watson. I loved him coming out. I love when he was at Clemson.
Yeah, I do.
But DeAndre Hopkins, if he keeps this up, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's gone 33% of the offense or targets, or the stat you threw out. that is an enormous
it was
chunk of the offense that is just gone.
Yeah, I mean, it was over 33% of his total completions, passing yards, and touchdowns. I mean, so.
When was David Johnson awesome? 2016?
Yeah, when I took him, I think I took
maybe
him in
17.
I think I took him in 17, right? And then he broke his hand in like week 1 or something like that. So 16, he had like the gigantic year. I think I was sitting there with like pick 2 and 17. We did a live draft, and I picked David Johnson, and my season was over week 1 because he was hurt and he like never played again. So
that's an enormous question mark. I mean, yeah, he has a talent. I mean, he's like all these receivers. It's got. I mean, good grief. I hope they have extra medical staff for the Texans games when they play, because man, I don't know. I hope for the best for all these guys, but I'm with you, man. There's no way Desean Watson is going to be the 4th highest scoring quarterback with this makeshift injured.
Yeah, I mean,
these offensive weapons that he's got.
I mean, I can see him being like, I mean, look, like the Eagles, man, like just playing with a bunch of guys from the practice squad. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, I don't know. And I mean, they do have Duke. You got Duke Johnson and David Johnson, but like, are those 2 guys you want to rely on to, like, I don't know.
Well, honestly, Duke Johnson deserves to get the ball a whole heck of a lot more than he has in his career. I mean, he should have been the guy last year in Houston. I mean, he's better than Carlos Hyde. He's more exciting. I mean, on a per-touch basis, he performs. But Cleveland wouldn't give him the ball. Houston won't give him the ball. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe there's something that we don't see. Maybe there's a practice flaw. I don't know what it is, but you got to give Dookie the ball.
I agree with that, but when you look at that trade, though, there's no way that Bill O'Brien's going to let.
I know. You're right.
He's not going to let. You know what I'm saying? He has to justify that trade. So
you're right.
As a fan, I mean, it's not the right thing to do. Like you said, I mean, I think Duke Johnson should be touching the ball way more than David Johnson. But how are you going to sell that to the fans when you traded, a fan favorite, future Hall of Famer DeAndre Hopkins, and then you're going to give the ball to Duke Johnson and have David Johnson just standing there on the sideline? So
you're right. I know.
I mean, they're going to rely on this guy, and it's just all those guys are always hurt, man. And I hate to bang on Desean Watson a little bit because I do like the kid, and he is a stud. But maybe it's just this year. I think this year's a down year. I mean, maybe we'll see what they do in the draft or free agency coming up. But he needs another big target, man, and a running back.
Yeah, I'm definitely not in on him where he's going right now for sure. All right, Brian, if I rock the boat a little bit with my Mike Evans pick, I'm just going to push the whole boat over. I'm sinking the ship with this one, my friend.
Sink it.
My bust, I'm going with none other than a second-team All-Pro and reigning NFL rushing champion, Derrick Henry. I cannot wait to hear the blowback from this one. But hear me out.
All right.
You and I have discussed the over 400 touches that Henry got last year, including the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And history has shown us that the world is not overly kind to players who get used and abused that much in one season. Of the last 26 players to carry the load that much, only half of them played a full season the next year. So right there, out of 26, only 13 played a full season the next year. And a quarter of them played 8 games or less. So right off the bat, Derrick Henry only has a 50% chance of playing a full season, which you definitely want from someone that's getting drafted as the 5th running back off the board and the 7th overall pick in the first round. Of those 26 running backs with 400 touches, the average amount of touches for those guys went from 422 to 307. Their yards per carry dropped half a yard, and the biggest issue was that their average fantasy points dropped from 357 to 235. That's 122 points. If you took 122 points off of Henry's 309 that he had last year, he finishes with 187. There were 88 players that scored more than 187 points last year, including guys named James White and Michael Gallup. If my 7th overall draft pick finishes below Michael Gallup, I'm going to throw up. Again, real quick, I'm not telling you to ignore Henry altogether. Just know that drafting him where he is slotted right now is shaky at best.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I'm not going to say, Yeah, I mean, that's all based off of your draft position. I mean, if he falls to you maybe in the late first round or early second round, I might take a look at him. But, yeah, I mean, the stats are hard to deny, man. I mean, like you said, and here's my thing. You failed to mention that old Derrick Henry got paid. Now, I don't know him. I don't know him as a person, but look, he was a lot hungrier last year, I'm sure, trying to earn that paycheck. So this year, that hamstring might hurt a little more.
You're right.
Now, look, I don't want to say that, he's soft, whatever. The guy's a beast. I mean, people are afraid to tackle, Derrick Henry, but
he's the national high school rushing leader in history. Like, he rushed for more yards in high school than anybody else ever.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a monster.
Yeah, the dude's an animal, but yeah, it's just tough. And it's just that thing. He had that gigantic year last year. It's just hard to duplicate, like you said. I mean, I think he'll have a good year, but just what he did last year, I don't think he'll be able to do that again. I mean,
here's the deal.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're picking. He's going 7th overall, right? So you're sitting there. You got the 7th pick in a 12-team PPR draft, and you're looking at Derrick Henry. The history has shown us, the stats prove he has a 50% chance of not playing every game.
Yeah.
You're already rolling the dice with obviously anyone you pick.
Mm-hmm.
But right off the bat, you only have a 50-50 shot of him. And you have a 25% chance that he's going to play 8 games or less.
Yeah,
I'm not gambling that much with my first round pick. Now, he's big, he's strong, he's healthy. He might be okay. But I'm not – I mean, 75% – my first round pick has to be the safest pick that I can make. And it's just not Derrick Henry for me.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. I mean, another thing, I mean, I'm not big on Tannehill this year, so I think last year he kind of outplayed what he can really do, I think. So I think this year he's not going to do as much. So – if you're then relying on Derrick Henry a lot more, I just think it even makes it harder for him to produce, because, Tannehill he kind of just played lights out. I mean, he was, if he's just out there back to the Ryan Tannehill, like the Dolphins, like Derrick Henry is pretty much like a non-factor in fantasy because teams will just load the box and then, they know Tannehill can't beat them. But, I mean, we'll have to see about that. But, yeah, I mean, I think Tannehill takes a step back this year, and I think that'll hurt Derrick Henry.
Yeah, man. I mean, and I've already professed my love for Darrington Evans as well when we talked about the Titans with Mike Seth. And, he's going to steal touches. I mean, probably not a lot. But if I would rather have Evans as my RB5 in the 12th round than I'm telling you right now, I'm definitely not taking Derrick Henry in the first round. There's not a chance.
Yeah, I mean, rookies stealing touches from your number one pick is never good. Yeah. I mean, no matter if it's – look, if you're in a PPR league or if you're in if you're in any kind of fantasy league, I mean, fantasy games get tight, especially when you're playing with guys who know the game and know how to play fantasy football. I mean, if Derrick Henry loses 3 to 4 touches a game, I mean, that might be you losing by, percents, I mean, like – 0.62 points or something like that. Like you just don't
Every
know.
point matters in fantasy. Every point matters.
And then, those touches are just yards that Derrick Henry could have. And, I'm saying everybody has those games every week where,
if Evans doesn't get 10 or 12 touches a game, the Titans aren't doing it right. I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think he'll have a little bit of a down year this year because, all the factors we talked about. So.
All right. Well, I'm sure that's going to tick some people off. So please let us know. Hit us up, shoot us a message on our page, letting us know how upset you are with our bust picks. I do know that we have a fantasy question. So Brian, why don't you go ahead and hit us with that?
All right, yeah. So Kevin, let us know your thoughts on those. I know Kevin likes to break it down, so
he does.
Give us the Thanos theory. Tell us how bad we are. So all right, yeah. All right, man. So I had a question here. I'm not going to say any names. We'll keep it anonymous. Could be a Browns fan, could not be a Browns fan. He wants to know if Baker Mayfield can bounce back from his awful second season, and is he worth drafting this year in fantasy football?
All right. So I'll go ahead and start. I'll say that I do not have Baker ranked in my top 12 QBs, but if you told me he was going to finish in the top 12, even the top 10, it would be difficult for me to argue with you. He still has an enormous amount of weapons with Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. I know Landry's come back from injury, but I mean, he catches 100 balls a year in his sleep. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they might have the best 1-2 punch in the NFL coming out of the backfield, especially if the Browns get smart and run with 2 running backs on the field at a time, with Chubb taking the handoffs, have Kareem back there, maybe get a couple handoffs, have Kareem Hunt line up in the slot. I know we talked about that with Tariq Cohen. Kareem Hunt can do the same thing. But most importantly with that Browns offense, and I discussed this way back, I mean, I don't know how many weeks ago, with Jack Conklin was one of my most impactful free agent pickups, whatever episode that was. The Browns' offensive line is completely revamped, and that was a big problem they had last year. I talked about Baker Mayfield, how many hurries and sacks that he had and he had to take. He's going to have a lot more time this year to find those receivers. And, not to mention they signed Austin Hooper at tight end. He has a ton of – I mean, maybe the most weapons in the entire NFL at his disposal. He was a number 1 NFL draft pick, and he showed, at least, in college, that he has NFL-type accuracy. I think he was over 70% accuracy his senior year at Oklahoma. So I'm in on Baker Mayfield. Now, again, I don't have him in my top 12 right now. He might move up there in the next couple of weeks. But, hey, if you want to take him as your QB1, as long as you take him late, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, Mayfield, like you said, with those weapons, he might be a guy drafted as like a backup quarterback maybe. I don't know.
Sure.
I mean, I always go, you always go your starter, then you go, I always draft another quarterback, obviously. But, yeah, I definitely wouldn't draft him as my QB1. I mean, he had a terrible year last year, let's just face it. I mean, and I don't think the whole Freddie Kitchens thing, that obviously didn't work. So that was a 1-year deal. I think he's going on his 3rd coach, right? So he had Kitchens last year. Now they have Kevin Stefanski. So, I mean, it's like his 3rd year, 3rd system, 3rd coach. I don't know. I mean, last year I think he completed, like you said, in college, he was accurate in college, but last year I think he completed like less than 60% of his passes, and he had 21 picks. I know
but again,
that.
he's running for his life back there.
Yeah, he is. Now, with the improved offensive line and some of those weapons, I think he'll do good. Baker's another guy like Desean. I mean, I like Baker Mayfield. I liked him coming out of college. I mean, he's that guy that has kind of like – he's got to just get that chip on his shoulder. I mean, I think he had that coming out of college, and then he had some success his rookie year. And then last year I think he just did a little bit of too much talking maybe. I don't know, and just, things just kind of went south, and he needs to get back – he needs to get back to that guy, that had that chip on his shoulder, like that walk-on at Texas Tech and the walk-on at Oklahoma.
Yep.
And he proved everybody wrong. So maybe he'll do that. But and Stefanski, I mean, he's definitely a better coach than Freddie Kitchens. I mean, what was Freddie Kitchens like, an offensive line coach or something like that? And they promoted him to head coach. They had
it's a joke. The Browns, Stefanski, the whole organization's a joke. Hiring Stefanski, he's the best coach that Mayfield's been able to play for.
So
by far. Stefanski's
Hugh,
actually a legitimate NFL coach.
Yeah, I mean, you had Hugh Jackson, and then you went to Kitchens, and then now you have Stefanski. So, I mean, I think he'll do better. I mean, I don't think he'll have 21 picks. I mean, he needs to knock that down to like 12.
I think Baker's a smart guy. I think Baker came out as a rookie, and I think he was smart enough to be like, look, I was the man in college, but I'm going to have to work here. And he did, and he had a very successful rookie season. Oh, yeah. Then I think you saw it coming with all these commercials and the spotlight. Yeah. You had to know that he wasn't going to – he was like the 5th quarterback off the board, I think, last year in ADP, and I was not that high on him. Not that I saw him being as bad as he was, but he may have been in my top 10 last year, maybe. But he obviously didn't finish there. He finished in the 20s. But I think he's smart enough to realize, look, I got some work to do. I was thinking I was going to be the man, and then I got reality smacked me in the face I think he's going to put his nose in the books. I think he's going to study. I think he's going to be watching a whole lot more film. I think he's going to be ready. He'll have the time. And even I think Austin Hooper is an underrated signing. And I'm not sure Austin Hooper by the end of the year where he'll rank as far as tight ends go. But I know he's going to be that goat, like that pacifier if Baker needs it. David Njoku, who he had before, is a great athlete. But I don't know that he's like that possession receiver. I don't know if he's like that guy that you really know you can rely on to be where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. I do think Austin Hooper is that guy. So I'm not a big Hooper guy this year. I don't think he's going to have the end of the year big numbers, but I think he's going to get enough numbers to help Baker get to where he needs to be and shoot up the QB rankings by the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I can't complain. I like Mayfield, man. So I'll take him as a backup. And if you need to, if he gets hot and you want to roll with him and you throw him in there, maybe on your QB's bye week, or I don't know, if your QB is playing a stud defense and you want to throw old Baker in there. I mean, if he's having a good year, I'd do that. But I'm definitely not taking him QB1. But he's somebody I'd stick on my team, though.
So do you think Baker will not end the season as a top 12 QB?
Top 12, I think he falls right. I think he's more of like 15, 16.
All right. Off air, let's make a bet.
Okay. I'm all right with that.
I know you're a betting guy. I know you like to do it. I'm not a betting guy, but
it's tough because I like Mayfield, but I mean, I just have to see it, man. I don't know. It's just tough.
All right, man. Anything else on your end?
No, I mean, that was another good week, another fun week. I know we're working on getting some other NFL guys in here. It's tough. Calvin was more than welcome to come on.
Oh, yeah.
And that was great. And, CJ and Terrence Pryor were great as well. We're still only 15, 16 episodes in. So, once these guys start hearing some of our stuff with some of these other ex-NFL guys, I think we'll be able to get them a little easier. But, as of right now, keep adding.
We have a few more in the works. I have a couple guys I'm talking to and, trying to get in contact with and all that stuff. Maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, the Heisman Trophy winner. We'll have to see how that goes.
That'd be nice.
No promises, not even close. We are in the infancy stages of that,
Maybe we'll do that. So. Maybe we'll do a poll, like a realistic poll. Look, it's hard, and I didn't know this before, but it's hard to kind of get we want to get some current NFL guys in here, but it's kind of hard to deal with training camp starting, and you kind of have to go to the PR team and do all that, and they have to be approved. So, getting the former guys is a little easier because they can kind of set their own schedule. So maybe we'll do a poll about like maybe some who would our listeners want to hear, and maybe we can start reaching out to some of those people.
Right. Yeah. Like I told you, I was talking to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And their upper management, emailing back and forth. And they said, look, we'd love to help you out, but this season is crazy right now. We got players coming back. So it's just tough for that. And like you said, most of the media appearances have to go through their media people first. Yeah, so it's tough, but the folks that are out of the league, obviously, a lot easier to get.
Yeah, we'll work on it. But these guys got some stories, man, that are awesome. So
all of them.
Can't complain, man. That was another great episode, and I look forward to being back next week, man.
Oh yeah, as always, music by Dunson.
Yep. And
he'll always be our intro guy, I hope.
Yeah, I think we've. I need to go through the list, but I think we've used up some of the songs, so we might need to shuffle through a few more. But they're all great, and another good week. I guess we'll talk to you guys next week. Look for it again. Add us on.
Yeah, grow the group.
Apple Podcast, Podbean. We post a Facebook link. I know a lot of people, like to listen to it in the gym or in the car. So a lot of people have iPhones. So, I've put up those instructions before.
Yep.
It kind of costs some big money to just search B&B's Football Happy Hour. So you have to add it by the link, which, takes 5 seconds to type in. So as long as you type that in and hit subscribe, all the new episodes pop up. So it's just a one-time deal. Go out and do that and tell your friends about it, man. And
and this show's for you. Yeah, this show's for you. If you want to hear something, let us know what you want us to talk about. We got you.
Yeah, for sure. We're taking some more questions, so keep them rolling, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
See you, Brian.
All right, man. Take it easy.